All right, we're on chapter 3, basic rhythms. So, first thing, what is a beat? A beat is going to be a steady pulse which underlies the music. So, steady pulse. You can just leave it at that, that's fine. Beat is a steady pulse. Now, if you remember from previously, we have different types of notes that have different amount of beats in them, or you need an amount to make a full beat. So first, we have our whole note. That equals 4 beats, normally. Then we have our half note, which equals 2, quarter note, which equals 1, cutting it in half each time we go. And finally, eighth note, which equals half of a beat. So what you're going to do is draw lines to match the terms in column 1 and 2. So for example, that top one, that's just this note here, that is our whole note, so you're going to draw a line between that and where it says whole note. Then you're going to match items with in column 2 with items in column 3. So this top one says 2 eighth notes. How long is 2 eighth notes? Well, 2 of these together, a half plus a half, is just 1 beat. So you're going to find 1 and connect that. Then, number 3, we're going to draw the note in the box which makes one side of the equation equal to the other side. So, we have these here. At 3A, we have quarter note, half note, quarter note equals whole note, and then something. That was a really bad square, let me redo that. Whole note, and then some mystery note. So we need to make this equation work. So we have 1 for a quarter note, 2, 2 and 1. All that together is 6. We know the whole note is 4. So we need something to equal 6. Something to add to 4 to equal 6. Well, 4 plus 2 is going to equal 6. Which note has 2 beats? Half note. And there we go. So half note goes in there. And you'll do the same thing for the rest of the notes in there. Next page, the top it should say 3.2, draw bar lines to make measures. All right, measures. A measure just divides the music so that you don't have like a bunch of notes going on. You can't have heads or tails of what's going on. They divide the notes into different groups. And these, we divide them with bar or measure lines. And that's what these are. Just divide it up so we can more easily count it. So if you look at the music at the top of this page here, it says Hebrew melody. We're trying to figure out how many measures are in that phrase above. So you're going to do that. Then, so yeah, this is the measure. So you're going to count how many there are there. Then at the very end of the music, you're going to see this. That is called a double bar line. That just means it's over. When you see a double bar line, it's like extra stop and don't go on. Music's over. One's thinner, one's thicker. First measure of a staff usually does not have a bar line. So no bar line, you got the time signature, then you got the music going on, bar lines, music, and stop. So number 2, you're going to draw bar lines in the phrases that are down below here. Each measure should have the number of quarter note beats which are shown in the box on the left. So the box on the left is going to give you a number and a quarter note that just tells you how many quarter notes are going to be in each measure. for that example there, we have a box here that has a 2 with the quarter note. That means there are going to be 2 quarter notes each measure, or 2 beats. We're counting the quarter note as a beat right now. So we have boom, 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 all right. So we need to figure out where to put the bar lines. Bar lines are going to go every 2 beats. So here's 1, and here's a half and a half. Together, that equals 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. There's 1 bar line. Then we have another pair of halves, another pair of halves. That's another 2. There's another bar line. Then we have a half note. Half notes are 2 beats, all by themselves. There's another bar line. Then you're going to end it with a double bar line. Boom, boom. And there's your piece. And you do the same thing with all the rest there. The next one has a 4. The one after that has a 3, then a 5, then another 3. The next page is talking about time signatures. So, the time signature is pretty much the same thing as what we just did. So instead of having a number and then a note, we're going to substitute a number for this. So instead of this is going to be written like this. The reason why we use a 4 is because it's a quarter note. Quarter note will always go with a 4. And different notes for different numbers. So, but we're just going to worry about a 4 at the bottom right now. The top number tells you how many beats per measure. So we have 2 beats per measure. The bottom number tells you what type of note gets the beat. If it's a 4, it's a quarter note. Think of it as 1/4. Quarter is 1/4. So just think fractions, fractions, fractions. So, number 1 says, how many quarter notes long is a measure of 3/4? So we have music, it's in 3/4. How long would a measure be? How many quarter notes would there be? Well, each quarter note gets a beat. There are 3 beats, therefore you have 1, 2, 3 quarter notes in that measure. How about if it's 6/4? Still the same thing, quarter note gets a beat because the 4 is on the bottom, but now we changed how many. There are 6 now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 quarter notes in that measure. Now, number 3 says write the time signatures in the boxes. And you're still doing in quarter notes. Only quarter notes are the beat right now. So for example, they have this as your example measure. There's your example measure. We need to figure out how many beats. Now we already know it's going to be quarter note is getting the beat, so we can put a 4 down there. Now we just need to count how many beats there are. So half note has 2, quarter note has 1. We have 2 eighth notes together that equals 1. And then we have a half note here, and that's 2. So 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 6. So probably going to be 6. Let's just double check here. We have 2, 1, 1, 2, also 6. So yep, 6 beats in each measure. You do the same thing for the rest of there. Then you're going to draw bar lines according to the time signatures. Same thing as the previous page. We have a time signature already in our example, 4/4. And then we just have the notes. We don't have the bar lines. Okay, so we need to draw the bar lines to figure out, get 4 beats in each measure. Here's 1, here's 2, there's another 1 beat, and 1 and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your bar line, because we have 4 beats per measure. Let's double check here. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we got our double bar line at the end. Next, we get to have even smaller notes. We're on page 21. At the top it should say clap rhythms with 16th notes. So, again, we have our whole, half, quarter, eighth, add a flag. We're now at 16th notes. It can be written like that or like that. Either way works. For a quarter note equals 4 16th notes. You gotta smash all 4 into 1 beat, so that's a quarter of a beat. So we're gonna clap some rhythms here. Number 1 looks like this. So we have 2, 4. That means 2 beats per measure. Quarter note still gets the beat. I mean, you could just look at your paper, but I'm going to write this up here anyway. So here's how I like to count these. I count the number right on the beat. So this is going to be 1. Then on a 8th note, it's going to be the and. So 1 and. The 16th notes are on beat 2, so I'm going to put a 2. Then I go E and So this is going to sound like this. 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2 E and Next one, 1 and 2. There's nothing going on. So this whole phrase will go 1 and 2 E and 1 and 2. Then you do the same thing with the rest. I'm not going to write it up there, but if you look at number 2 on your worksheet, it should say 3, 4. So we're doing 3 beats per measure, and that one's going to go 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3. No 16th notes to make life easy. Number 3 is going to be like this. We're in 4/4 time now. Now we have 16th notes. 16th, 8th, and quarter, and a half note. So that's going to go 1, 2 E and 3 and 4. 1, 2 E and 3. So I held that for the 2 beats because it was a half note there. Next, we have a 2/4 measure, and these notes are not beamed together. They're just written normally. We're only 2 beats per measure. Quarter note still gets the beat. This one goes 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 E and 2 and 1 and 2. Pretty simple. The next one is a little trickier, 5/4. You won't see that very often, but it does exist. 5 beats per measure. So that's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like so. And then finally, number 6 is 3/4 with decent array of different types of notes. This one will go 1 and 2, 3 E and 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3. Just like so. Okay? Lots of pages. All right. Now we're going to talk about dotted notes. We got 16th notes now for dotted notes. So, a dot is going to increase the length of the note by half its value. That's just in the simplest form. So for example, here's our note. We're going to start with a quarter note. Quarter note, remember, gets 1 beat. Okay. So quarter note, had to pause it, sorry. Quarter note is 1 beat. If we add a dot, that's going to add half of that beat. So we have 1, half of 1 is a half. Therefore, a dotted quarter note equals 1.5 beats. You can do this with any type of note ever. We're going to do it with a half note now. We have a half note. Half note usually has 2 beats. We are now going to add half of its value. Half of 2 is 1. Dotted half note has 3 beats. Finally, we have the whole note. Whole note has 4 beats. Half of a whole note, add a dot. Half of 4 is 2. 4 plus 2 and 6. So a dotted whole note has 6 beats. All right. Now down here, we're going to draw some bar lines. So number 1, run 3/4 time. Oh, and they're not beamed together. I'm just going to do that because it's faster. And then quarter, 8, half. Oh, this is a lot. Okay. 8, 16, 16, 8, half, or dotted half. All right, so we have 3 beats per measure. Quarter note still gets the beat. Here's a half and a half. There's 1 beat there. We have 4 16th notes here, and so that all equals 1 beat, because you have 4 16th notes in 1 quarter note. Got a plain old quarter note here. 1, 2, and 3. We got to 3. Now we have another set of 8th notes there. There's 1. This is 2 beats. 1, 2, 3. There's another one. There's 1. All 16th notes. There's 1. There's 1. There's another 3. And look, dotted half has 3 beats. And then there's our double bar line at the end. Same thing with the rest. Number 2, you're going to write the time signatures from what's given to you. So we have quarter, 8ths all beamed together. Bar line, quarter, quarter, quarter. Bar line, quarter, half. Bar line, dotted, half. All right. So we know quarter note gets a beat. There's a 4. Here's 1. Here's another one. 2, 3. Bar line. 3 beats in a measure. Let's double check that. 1, 2, 3. Yep. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3. So 3/4. There's your time signatures. All right. And on the last page of this packet, you have 3.6, count the beats in phrases with rests. So we have ways, we know how long to hold notes. Now we also need to know how long to rest. A rest means no sound, but it's still in rhythm. You still need to know how long you need to do that. So we have our normal whole note. It's 4 beats. The rest version is going to look like this when it's by itself. When it's on the staff, it's going to be on the fourth line up and on the bottom, hanging from the fourth line. Half note, remember that equals 2 beats. Half note is going to be on the middle line and be on the top. Or when it's by itself, it's going to look like a hat. Way to tell the difference? A hat or a half note looks like a hat. A whole note looks like a hole in the ground. Then we get to quarter. This one looks kind of like this jagged zigzag thing. And that's only 1 beat. Quarter, quarter. Then we have eighth. Which is half a beat. That one's going to look like this. Like a 7 with a wart on its nose. Or with an Elvis hairstyle. I don't know. Whatever helps you remember it. It's half a beat. Then we have 16th note. That is a quarter of a beat because you fit 4 of them into 1 beat, quarter note. And then that looks like that. So the 8th and the 16th, they start the pattern. And then that pattern is going to be the same the whole way through. So if you do a 32nd note, you're just going to add a flag for each, the note and the rest. So yeah, rests are very important because they tell you how long silences are in music. The note tells you how long you hold a sound. The rest tells you how long you stay silent. All right, so this is going to be the equation similar to what we did at the beginning. Number 1, we have our quarter note. We have a quarter rest equals quarter note, something, and 8th note. So they still need to equal the same. So we know a quarter note is 1 beat. A quarter rest is also 1 beat. 1 plus 1 is 2. So we need to figure out what that's going to equal. Quarter note is 1 beat. 8th note is a half beat. We're currently at 1.5 beats. We need another half to make 2. So we need to figure out what has a half beat, and that is a 8th rest. So 1 plus 2 equals 2. There we go. So you're going to draw the rests for all of these. I'm not going to do notes, but rests. All right, and that is Chapter 3, Basic Rhythms.